You are now listening to Carly's Couch.
I'm Carly.
And I'm Lex.
In this podcast, we discuss a wide array of topics about life and how to live your best life.
Whatever that looks like for you.
Hope y'all enjoy. Hola.
Welcome to Carly's Couch. We are back once again.
And we back every Monday.
Right. Same time every week.
Hey.
No, but y'all be paying attention though. I know y'all listening because y'all be texting me when it was messed up last time when I put up the audio or when the video goes black or whatever. And I think, I'm going to get by. And y'all be like, the video's black. Like, I don't know that. But thank you for watching. And thank you for listening. And we're excited you're here. We have a good episode for you today that Carly has come up with and designed. How are you doing, Carly, first of all?
I'm feeling good. Feeling well-rested, and well-rested and, that and thinking instead of either or. So feeling good and just, I don't know. Yeah, all of that to say I'm feeling good.
I was like, what?
You just cut that out.
Like, feeling good, but, and
feeling good.
But nothing. Okay.
How are you doing today?
I'm all right. I'm a little irritated and I have been... I'm feeling overextended with a lot of other people's stuff right now, so I gotta get back on it. But now we have Thanksgiving this week, so I know it's gonna be like a lot of time towards stuff with that, and so probably after that, which is taking us into December now, then I can kind of get back on track a little bit better. So should be good to go. There's something else. I wanted to remind you guys that you can call us and leave a voicemail because you can ask us any questions that you want, whether it's for advice or whether it's just to like make an announcement or just say something or feedback or whatever you'd like. Just a reminder for that because then we'll play it on the show and respond to what you say. The number is in our website and where else? I don't know if we put it somewhere else.
It's been in a couple of the show notes, but if you go to carlyscouch.com, it's right there on the front page.
Yeah, I want to say it's 323-505-2030, but that may or may not be correct. So look at carlyscouch.com on the front page, or I guess I could have pulled it up real quick, but whatever. And leave us something, por favor. Thank you.
Yes, so thanks for tuning in. Today, we are going to talk about listening. Listening is super important. And I was having a conversation with a friend this week that made me think about have we done an episode on listening yet? So I went back through all of our episodes and we have not. We've done one on communication before, so if you haven't, go check that out. But today we're talking about listening, why it's important. I think it's pretty obvious, but common barriers to why people are not good or effective listeners, and then ways that we can be better to help ourselves, improve our relationships, and improve us in business. So, Lexi, are you a good listener? Would you consider yourself a good listener?
I think a better question is, do you think I'm a good listener?
Ooh, way to flip.
I know what I would say, but I think that that's very dependent on the other people around you or that are talking to you. But I know what people say, so that would be my answer. But am I a good listener?
I would say you're a good listener. When you're intentional, hold on, my caveat. You start laughing during my caveat.
Because don't be listening.
I would say when you're intentionally listening, if I'm like, hey, Lexi, I want to talk to you about this thing, you'll listen. But otherwise you seem distracted sometimes, whether it's by your phone or by whatever else is happening in the world. But if I make an effort and tell you I need to, or want to have a conversation, you do make a conscious effort to be a good listener.
Okay.
Would you consider me a good listener?
Yes, I would. I had to think because I was like, when's the last time I tried to say anything specific? But yes, and I would say so. Or I would say that just because you talk about people calling you a lot or talking to you or speaking with you, quite a bit to have conversations. So I'm sure that they do that because you're a good listener. But yeah, most of my friends tell me that I'm not a good listener or you don't be listening or you don't pay attention. And that's because I do not. So unless I'm, like you said, I guess if somebody's really in my face and they're trying to tell me something, I try to listen. But even then, I very much man, my brain just be on other things. So I have actively been, well, not like consistently, but I've recognized this specifically in like 2000, maybe sometime between like 2010, 11, something like that. So I was very much more made aware of it because of some habits that I have when people are speaking to me and they're brought up to me. And so since then I'll recognize it. And so I always kind of get upset, like, oh man, like if I cut somebody off or interrupt them, which that's what I really do a lot when people speak, because it's hard for me to listen instead of just like, all right, get to the, like, what's the point of this? Or like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need all the extra like backstory or, like it's just, I just be trying to rush to something. Like I'm always trying to rush it. So I recognize certain habits that I have. And more I've recognized in the last year as well. Kyle always tells me I don't be listening. Everybody knows I don't be listening. So, cha-cha.
So I would ask you, like, so if to everybody who's listening, if you're contemplating if you're a good listener, like, you had a great point. Like, you can think you're whatever, but also look at the people in your life, listen to what they say, and then kind of make moves from there. So you say you're a little bit like distracted or not a good listener, or other people have told you that. Do you think this is situational? Like, are you a good listener, or are you in some areas, like maybe in business versus personal?
No. It's all the same. I ain't listening. Or it's, maybe I don't like saying like I'm not listening, but the issue is that I struggle being present, and so as soon as my brain thinks I know what's coming next, or like other little cues, I kind of get off it. Like I just kind of like veer off a little bit. But it doesn't necessarily matter in business. Like, for example, we probably have calls like this too often where, people want to call or do like an exploratory call and, talking about their business or what's going on, or, and I do week-to-week coaching with some clients as well. And sometimes I do find it difficult, or actually I'm doing a good job because I'm recognizing it and being self-aware, that, they'll be talking and, about an issue or what they're doing. And as somebody who is like an expert, or they're like coming to me to talk about it, it's easy to like, okay, so this, and this, or, like just trying to just like get to it instead of letting them speak. But I have been doing better of just, letting them talk. And then it's like, all right, wait for them to stop. And then kind of moving forward with the conversation. Personal, I guess with business, it might be a little more intentional conversations, but to what you said earlier, if the personal conversation is intentional, then, it's probably about the same. I don't think it's necessarily like I'm not listening to some people and I'm listening to others.
Yeah. Mine is different, not on like category, not like business versus personal versus friend, but I've noticed that if it's a friend or if it's a family member or somebody in my life and we've had these same conversations, like you said, my brain is already running through it and I'm just kind of drowning you out to get to the end. Mm-hmm. So if you come to me complaining about the same thing, like at some point I'm gonna have to have I'm not listening. Mm-hmm. And I'll have a conversation like, hey, are we going to do something about this? So that's whenever I notice I'm not good at listening, is whenever it's the same thing, redundant, that we've been there a few times before, in which we'll have to have a different conversation. But then also, when my mind just starts going to solutions, like I try to start solving things, and that keep like to your point, takes me out of the present. And then I'm not listening. I'm trying to solve for you. I'm trying to think ahead and like do different things. So that's like where I struggle. And it's more so personal based. I've also noticed in business situations, I get really excited about ideating and about trying to find those solutions. And so I will be way off in left field and then in right field and then in outer space and then back down, and you're still talking about the same thing. So I have to reel myself in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying really, really hard to listen right now. I'm not gonna lie to you. Not as in it's hard, but for example, anytime somebody else talks, I notice all the time, like I wanted to mess with my mic so bad, or like I picked up my water, or like I'm gonna start like doing something, and I consistently distract myself out of the moment. And so that's why I like had to put my hands on the video, people will see, but like try to put my hands down because if I'm moving a lot, I'm always moving. And so just now I was like, all right, let me be practicing during this actual episode. So I'm like, all right, like not move, like listen to what she is saying. Even though like even us talking about it's like, okay, I know what you're saying, you know, like I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a big thing, like moving. So for me, that's like a solution to be more still while somebody's talking. And then I would pay a little bit more attention.
I like that a lot. And I like that you're listening and being very intentional about it with me. Makes me feel special. Anyways.
Struggling. Wanna move and think about other things.
If y'all have ever watched the video, you notice that I look at Alexia very lovingly. That helps me pay attention. But that helps me pay attention to what she's saying, like when I'm looking at her. So that's why a lot of the times when you're talking, if I'm looking around, I'm not like, it's really, really hard for me to pay attention. But if I'm looking at you, chances are I'm actually listening to what you're saying.
Yeah. And when you see our videos too, like you can see that I'll be not necessarily like looking around, but I'm kind of like you could tell I'm in my brain. You could tell like, but I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily not listening because I'm here, but I don't know. It's like maybe it's like another layer back or something that I don't know. I'm in the gulag or something. I don't know. But yeah, we're paying attention. I'm paying attention today.
So we talked about like categories and different people, and if listening is easier or better in any of those, is listening harder, easier, depending like on if you're in person or if you're on the phone or on a Zoom call? Like, have you noticed any difference there, like a gap?
If it's easier via the mode?
Like, or harder? Because for me, on a Zoom call, I could not be in school right now on Zoom calls because apparently now teachers can monitor whenever you're on other websites and things. Man, my brain, I am never all there. It is so hard to be completely present for me on a digital format. Like I be struggling hard.
But that's just like looking at somebody, right? Looking at the video.
Yeah, but if it's a lot of people and I don't know why it doesn't translate for me as much.
I'm trying to think, and I don't really think I feel like it's any different. Again, I'm already very, very low, like across the board on the phone or in video or in person. So I don't think it's much different. I don't think it's much different. But I do also know that I rather text for that reason. And because when somebody calls me or FaceTimes me, I'll be less likely to respond because it's like, oh man, now I have to focus all in on that. Versus when I'm texting, I can just like respond, put my phone down, respond when I want. And so I think being on the phone versus being in front of somebody, being on the phone, I think requires more paying attention, listening, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree with that because if I'm on the phone, you also can't tell whatever else that I'm doing. And so I have to be more intentional, I guess, with you. I would agree with that. And FaceTime. But now that iPhone has the new upgrade, like you can still look at other things. And so I think it's funny because you get to see people's faces, like how they look whenever they're scrolling through their phone.
Yeah. But I don't think I necessarily, my listening, I don't want to say it's not affected by looking at other things, but I think it's maybe different when you're doing things and talking to somebody, like versus like you're really trying to talk to somebody. I don't think that probably didn't really make sense actually, but I think that you can listen to somebody and be scrolling or be doing things, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe obviously that is like what we're saying is that you're not being as effective if you do that. But all conversations don't require. I guess that's what I'm thinking. Like all conversations don't really require like being all in somebody's face.
They do not.
And I was saying that being on the phone, I think requires more listening because sometimes you're just in the room. So like we're just in the room, you know what I mean? Like unless we're really like back, forth, having a convo, it's just like we're just here, talking, chatting versus like a very intentional conversation.
And I think that's important. An important differentiation is not all conversations are going to get 100% of your attention and your commitment, just because that's completely unrealistic. But in those moments where, it is important, or if you notice that you always are distracted, we're about to get into some barriers to active listening and effective listening and some ways to get better. So effective listening is actively absorbing the information given to you by the speaker, showing that you are listening and interested, and providing feedback to the speaker so that they know that he or she knows that their message was received. I don't know if the feedback is always necessary, but that's effective listening. A term that I've heard a lot more often is active listening, and active listening is just being in the present moment, like making sure that you're fully present in the conversation, you're not distracted, that you're there. And so I guess the difference between that is effective is demonstrating that, perhaps, and active is just being actively there.
If you are listening effectively, you are understanding the message that's being told to you. I think maybe it's more so.
Yeah.
Did you know it's a cultural thing? Some people hate it and some people love it. It's a cultural thing how when people are talking, you go, and like say things like, that's crazy.
Wow.
And in some cultures, they do different things. I forgot what it was. There's one community in Africa where they do some different, interesting noise. And I was like, man, I was watching and I was like, that's annoying. Like they just keep doing this noise. And then I realized later what that was. But I know some people now, they hate that when you're like, But also I think we're kind of taught that like if you're kind of like making that face and shaking your head that you're listening, or makes people feel like you're listening. Because if you've ever talked to somebody and you don't do anything and they're like, are you here? Are you listening to me? So I don't know. I think maybe that's like a personal, if that's what you like or not. But for me, I feel like I don't like talking to people and it just being like feeling real blank. But also when I say like, are you listening? Then they'll usually say like, yeah, I'm listening to what you're saying so I can, process it and then speak back. Whereas I think a lot of times with the kind of is just like, I don't know. It's like a habit. Like you're just doing it just to do it.
And as you were talking, I've nodded so many. I'm looking like a bobblehead on this video. Like, yeah. God, I hate it. I just got so irritated with myself. Speaking of, if you want to practice active listening, whenever I was in business school, we did this exercise in communications where you grab a partner. So whenever you can, grab one of your friends, grab your partner, grab not a stranger off the street necessarily, COVID, but grab somebody who you want to work on listening with, and then set a timer and just look at them, like try to maintain eye contact, not creepily, but just like looking at them, really paying attention, body language open towards the person, and let them talk for like 5 minutes. You don't say anything.
That's a long time.
It is, but it's so interesting.
I've seen that before for like a couple minutes.
Yeah, it's 2. I recommend 5 because I feel like whenever I've done it in practice with friends or in business or even in business school, there's like a barrier. And I don't know what it is, if it's like the awkwardness of somebody not saying anything, or if it's the weird feeling of never having or not usually having people be fully invested in what you're saying, because in our society, we're doing so many things all the time. There's like this awkwardness for the first 2 minutes that if you can really get past that's when people start to open up more. And it's almost like you see this veil kind of move off of them. And not saying it happens every time, but it's really cool when people are like, oh, wow, look at the clouds. Oh, wow, look at the stars. Man, I was really stressed out about this. And you're like, wow, how did we get here? And it's, for me, that time difference from 2 to 5 minutes makes a really big difference. So if the 5 minutes makes you feel awkward, try 2. But I would challenge you to do 5 and just give the person time, open body language, try not to respond, just listen.
It sounds like the challenge would be for the person talking. Because is there a particular prompt or is just talk?
It's just talk. I'm sure you could find one online, but the one we did was just talking. And it's a challenge for both people. So it's as the speaker not really having a lot of times where you feel heard all the way, or having someone, like I said, like fully invested, and for the listener to not be like, yeah, or ask questions or want to interrupt or want to say something, because so often that's what we do is like listen to respond.
We're talking about us listening, but on the other side, do you feel like people listen to you well?
That's a good question. For the most part, yes. I would say so. And also, there's times like when I'm leading workshops and things when people are absolutely not looking. So maybe it's balanced. So the people who are intentional, like, yes, like the people who, like my friends and things, I feel like they're pretty good at listening. But when I'm teaching workshops, especially like on Zoom and stuff, you can tell when people are doing 12 million other things and it's just cool. What about you?
What about me? Do I feel
People listen to you?
Mm-hmm. Yes. I feel understood when I communicate, and I feel for the most part like people are listening to me and paying attention when I'm speaking to them.
Yeah. So we've talked about like what like active and effective listening are. So what are some common barriers to active and effective listening?
What keeps us from listening?
Mm-hmm. Like what could be a barrier to being an active listener?
I would say attention deficit disorder and or ADHD. So consistently feeling a desire or need to look at or do something else or think about something else. Or is that like covering too many things in one response?
No.
Just having hard time concentrating is a barrier to listening effectively.
I think the last study that I read said that our attention spans are shorter than a goldfish. I think they're 7 seconds or something. Like the last thing that I read. I think it's shorter. Yeah.
I think it's like literally like 3 seconds now because it keeps changing.
Mm-hmm. So attention span and lack of focus for sure. And to what else you mentioned, like we all have lives and a million things going on. So it's so easy to get caught up and be in our own heads. Like even if I'm physically present, I could be nodding, but like be thinking about my to-do list and my haven't gotten done list and what I forgot. Like, oh damn, did I eat today? Like I could be all over the place in my head, but look like I'm paying attention.
Yeah, we have a lot of inner dialogue, and that's what I'm kind of trying to notice today during this episode. Like when I'm not speaking, like what am I really thinking about? Like it really is like so many other things that just go through your head, and I guess you kind of have to focus on becoming aware of that, and then kind of like stop, pay attention. You know, like kind of constantly checking yourself when that happens.
Yeah, I feel like meditation and yoga have helped a lot for making me more aware of like where my mind tends to go in these things and helping me recognize that. Another thing is information overload. And I'm thinking of this, and you can tell me if you have a different perception, but of specifically like if you're trying to learn something and the teacher or the person in the meeting just keeps going on and on and on and on and on about stuff, it's really hard to stay plugged in whenever it's just overloading your brain. And I'm thinking about a training that I did recently to keep up my certifications, and the person like teaching the little class on the video was just giving me so much. And I'm like, boy, like break that down for a moment. Like you're doing a lot.
Like it's too much information to process, or it was just difficult. Like you just weren't learning it.
I think a mix of both. It was a lot of not necessarily complex things, but it was a lot in the time frame. And it just, I don't know, maybe it's just not my best learning style, but it was hard to I had to listen to it a few times.
But is that listening or the comprehension of it? Like you're listening, huh?
Oh yeah. I guess that's the comprehension part, which is a huge part of listening that we haven't discussed. Mm-hmm. It's like listening is being able to hear, but are you actually hearing it and then actually being able to take it in and process it and understand it are different things.
Mm-hmm. In a case like that, your goal is to be listening and understanding, processing information.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Another barrier to effective listening is just having too many distractions around you. So being on your phone will be a barrier if you're in front of somebody to listen to them speak, people around you or other things around you, the TV on, music on, things like that can be barriers when you are paying attention, just because it's so easy now for, going back to the first thing I said, for like that ADD to kick in, or, for you to kind of dip off in your mind for a minute and then try to come back.
Mm-hmm. And in a very physical, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs type of way, if I'm really hungry, it's really hard for me to pay attention to something. Or if I have to pee, or if I'm super tired. So even thinking about those things,
it's like cold or something, all of those are good distractions too. Like your own comfort. And that's just something else for you to be thinking about instead of being focused on the other person.
Absolutely. So now we talked about some of the barriers that inhibit us from being great listeners, but what are some ways that we can become better listeners?
Be more still when you're speaking. Also, when people call me, I immediately start standing up and walking around. Or like Kyle, shout out Kyle again, also makes fun of me because on FaceTime, like, you're like, damn, can you sit down? Because like they just see all the movement behind me. Like I literally could be sitting down, but as soon as somebody calls me, like I start moving around. My dad, one time, he was like, are you okay? Like, he's like, blink if you're okay. Like, he's like, what's going on? Like, why are you moving around so much? So I would say be still or notice, I guess, now when somebody's speaking to you, if you move a lot or if you're more still, and then, I don't know, play it from there.
Yeah, I think that's important. Finding ways to be present and attentive. So being still is one of those, I would say, getting rid of any distractions. So if you are trying to have that conversation with someone face to face, like put your phone down or try to close your laptop or not like put the pen down out of your hand so that you're not distracted, because it's so easy for us. And I would say such a habit to start doing something else and to try to multitask whenever scientific studies have proven that we're not great multitaskers, even though if we think we are.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I actually, like if I'm on a date or something, like I always just put my phone down. I don't know. But it's just certain people. Like certain people I don't think about being on my phone, and then others it's like, all right, well, like whatever. Unless they're trying to have like a serious conversation, I guess. Another thing is eye contact and like being open, like body language toward the person. If you're speaking with somebody, I feel like that just allows you to stay more present and focused on them, which will help you to kind of hear better or be paying more attention to what they're saying.
A huge one for me is listen to learn and not to respond. I used to be that person in meetings, like I already knew what I wanted to say. Didn't matter what nobody else said before me. I was ready to say it as soon as I had my chance. Thank God I've grown out of that, but still sometimes I struggle. I'm much more mindful now, but sometimes I still struggle to not already have my pre-thought, like whatever I want to say, and just like, okay, well, let me not forget this so I can say it whenever they're done.
Yeah, the most interesting person is the most interested person. And so really to keep anybody's attention, getting to know people when you're networking, things like that, the biggest key is to be interested in other people. And so if you're talking to somebody to genuinely, like, you know, you're asked questions and you're wanting to learn about them or about whatever the topic or thing that they want to talk about is, if you kind of come at it from that perspective of like, I'm really interested in what you have to say right now, which is my biggest problem because I don't be, then you will enjoy the conversation, I think, better, or enjoy listening better.
Yeah, be curious. Like that's something I've been trying to approach everything in my life with. Just be curious, open-minded, like see what you can learn. Just be open.
And also with the listening, not to respond, I think it's important that you don't cut people off and interrupt when they're speaking. I do that so much. Like, and every time I do it, I'm like, man, like I'm feeling so bad because I'm like, I'm trying not to do it, or there's something that I'm very aware of, so it annoys me when I do it. But really trying to let somebody just finish their thought before you say anything.
You can miss out on some good stuff. Or I hate whenever people are going somewhere good. And I notice it when I'm clipping up the podcast. Like sometimes like one of us will have a thought and the other person will interrupt. And it's like, damn, I really wanted to hear where you were going with that. Like, shit. Another one is to be clear. So for problem solving people, if you automatically go into like save a whole mode and you're already like, okay, how can I fix this for you? Like make sure you ask the person, like being clear, like, oh, do you just want me to hold space? Or do you need advice? Do you want my help to try to fix things? Because I think sometimes that can help us turn that off too. Because if someone is just like, hey, I just need you to listen, or I just want you to listen today, instead of automatically going into trying to solve things, that can help you be more present and more active whenever you're listening.
And then I think that it's good to ask questions. We already said that, like to learn, but also asking questions and being sure that you're not bringing things back around to yourself. I also noticed that I would do that a lot too. Like, you know, somebody's telling their story and it's like, oh yeah, when I went to Disneyland, blah, 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 blah. And so it's like, you're looking for a way to like make yourself relevant into the topic or the story, which, you know, is not always like a terrible thing per se. It's a natural thing. Like we just kind of, when something happens, it's like you think about what's your, you know, connection to that, or what have you done, or what story do you have that has to do with that? But it actually, and when I was doing the training for the crisis text hotline, is when I really noticed like how difficult it is not to do that, because if somebody's speaking to you, like just not even saying I at all, like in a response, and it's just like, it's actually really difficult. So I that's another thing too, with the cutting people off, and also if I immediately try to like think about my own connection to what they're talking about, and so when they're done talking, like you just start talking about your thing, and it's like, no, just continue to let them dig deeper or explore into their whatever they're saying, unless of course they're asking you about your experience or whatever. But that's just something to think about. Like next time you're listening and having a conversation, notice how you respond, or if it's like you're responding about yourself versus exploring more into how they feel about whatever it is they're talking about.
That's a great one. And I annoy myself so often with the eyes, because I think it's us like trying to connect with people, but oh God. Yeah, I'd be so annoyed with myself. Another really big one, especially for me, is don't try to mind read. Like, don't think you already know what someone is going to say, and don't try to finish their sentences. Whenever I first started working, my project manager, so like my direct boss, him and I were having a conversation. We were talking. I really just felt like connected and like was finishing a sentence. He's like, "No, that's not what I was trying to say," and I was like, "Oh, okay, my bad." And that was a learning point. He was like, yeah, like even if, you know, just give people the time and the space to finish their thoughts. So getting overly zealous and trying to finish people's sentences, which is also annoying to be on the receiving end of.
Why do you think you do that?
I don't know. I haven't ever really sat down and thought about it, but if I think, and I've been a lot better about it since then, but back then, I don't know, maybe to like, cause I felt connected, or I don't know, was excited.
Well, I asked that because that's kind of the same or similar to when I'm like interrupting people. And I think for me, that comes from like, even as a kid, being the oldest sibling, and having like two younger brothers, I ended up being kind of like more bossy, and like I wanted to answer, like somebody would ask them a question, I'm like, oh, he's da-da-da. Like, so for some reason, I've kind of always just like taken like responsibility for just like responding to things. Mm-hmm. And so when somebody's talking, I have a thing where it's like, this is how I'm showing you like I get it, or I'm smart, or I know. And so I'm like, yeah, this. And it is frustrating when people are like, no, it's not, like, let me actually finish my statement. But it's almost like a thing, like you want to feel right and you want to feel like you know things. For me, that's why I asked if you were aware of like what you feel like that is about. I could see that also being something that you do because like you're trying to overly connect, and it's like, you don't have to do that. Like, just actually listen. So think about with these aren't the barriers, but like with these ways to be a better listener, which ones you kind of fall a little bit more short on. Next time somebody's speaking with you, like let's try to be self-aware and pay attention to, you know, what are you doing while they're speaking? What are you thinking about? Are you a good listener? Are you not at all? And what are those things you can kind of catch and be aware of so that you can flip to some of these practices to be a little bit more effective or active?
Definitely. And whenever you started saying those reasons, yeah, definitely to prove that I'm smart, or I do know, or to overly connect. So when you started saying it, I was like, yeah, those are probably reasons as well. And like Lexi said, the last one is just practice with yourself, be self-aware, notice where you are, and then practice the things that you struggle with. If y'all do end up trying the exercise with somebody, which I recommend, hit us up. Let us know how it goes. I would love to hear. Like I said, I challenge you to do 5 minutes, even though the exercise technically was only 2. I've had the better conversations at 5.
And this week, we're going to move into the end of this episode. We want to shout out Trocon. Shout out to Trocon because he has opened up his studio downtown. It's off, it's around the Santee Alley area. If you're in Los Angeles, it's called 1043 Mixed Media. And you can rent the space out for photo shoots, for any video shoots. It literally has all the cameras, lights, anything you would need in any studio. And so especially in this area, people rent studios all the time for half a day or for the day for their projects. And so now we have a Black-owned studio that we can support and work out of for events or any other thing. So check him out. I think the handle on Instagram is 1043mm. Maybe I feel like it should be longer than that. Maybe, but I will put it in the show notes so you can check them out. And the space is also open if there's anything that you want to do, like an exhibit or other things, which have to be COVID safe at the moment. But some of the production and things are still moving forward. So for anything with small crews right now, you can definitely get in there and reserve a space.
And it's super dope. So check them out on Instagram. He has his art in the space. He did it all himself. So super cool. Go support him. If you need a studio, if you know anybody who does, please share.
Yep. And let's make our question of the week relevant, I guess, to this episode. And what's one thing that you are going to do this week to practice being a better listener?
Ooh, I like that. Oh, if you already know, you can go ahead while I ponder. But if not, I think, so we talked about how it's certain people like where you're like, oh, I don't need to be on my phone. Like you're just fully present in the moment. When I'm talking to not those people, I'm going to be more aware of like where my mind is going and what those barriers might be to why I'm not as engaged in those conversations. If I feel like I should be, or like I would like to be more engaged in them.
Okay. And for me this week, I am going to call a couple folks, and so I can actually have something to practice. I'm going to make a couple phone calls just so I can check in with folks and catch up, because also I just don't really talk to people that often, like regularly anyway. So much time will go by like that I really chat with my friends or, catch up with them or whatever. So I'm going to try to do some of that this week, especially with the holidays. So it'll be a good time to see how people are doing.
Absolutely. So if you know anybody who this episode could help, please share it with them. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, 5 stars, please. And a worded review will read them. Leave us a voicemail with questions, thoughts, topics, and hit us up at Carly's Couch, at Lextopia, at CC Fierce.
That'll do. See y'all next week.
Bye.